Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, what if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are a couple of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. This one is called The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Transformation. And this is coming from lead author Anna Pereira. It's her sixth book in the series. Anna, we have so much gratitude for you. Thank you for your big vision and mission for this series, for what you do at the Wellness Universe. You have gathered together a stellar group of expert co-authors, and we get to talk to a couple of them today. This book is absolutely magnificent. So I got some pretty cool people in my Zoom room today. Jeanette Stewart is an angelic practitioner and emissary of joy at Angel Angles, uplifting and empowering others through love, grace, and divine connection. Sandy Krzyzanowski is here, and she's the owner of Better Day Yoga. She specializes in trauma-informed yoga, has practiced yoga for over 30 years, and has taught yoga, health, and wellness in studios, corporate offices, and high school settings since 2008. Welcome, ladies. Let's talk about transformation. Jeanette, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about the why behind your chapter.
Well, the why behind my chapter is the um, regret and angst that I felt when my dear brother was um, in his final months. And I was having a hard time dealing with losing him. I didn't know how I could go on without him. We were very close. And I didn't know also how my parents could live without him, losing their only son. And during that time, I I grew up in the church and I knew about angels, but I thought it was more like a historical thing, like they only announced the birth of Jesus, or, if maybe it was, if you were as good as Mother Teresa or something, you might be able to get a little angelic help. But I found a woman on Facebook, and her messages of angel love really turned the tide for me and gave me peace during that difficult time. And so it changed everything for me. It was a huge transformation to be able to work with the angels. And I came from a public administrative background. So I was with HR and finance. And then after, to be working with the angels, quite a shift. And my brother um, has always been very close to me, even on the other side. And so that's my why, is that I was able to find peace and comfort during those times of angst and with the angelic guidance. And once I started working with the angels and learning more about them, I couldn't wait to help people experience the same kind of peace and guidance that I was receiving. And, I didn't know it was possible.
From HR to Angels, Jeanette
Yeah.
Stewart.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds like a great chapter
I was
title,
just gonna
Laura.
say.
all right, you'll have to write another one then. We're going to call it
Yeah.
that. Um, okay, so you're expanding your definition of even what this means, an angel or having access to that help and that peace. And when one of our loved ones passes, Do you consider them one of your now new angels on the other side? And who are our angels in general? Tell us more about that.
Sure. So we each have at least two guardian angels that are with us our entire life. Even if you don't believe you do, you do. And then we have guides and helpers on the other side that can be loved ones. They could be friends that have gone ahead. You could have I feel like Wayne Dyer is a helper to me on the other side. I eh, his book actually was a huge an important book in my life, even before I lost my brother. But getting back to that, we each have guides that on the other side, and they try to get our attention by showing us signs of love from above. Sandy wrote about a cool experience in her chapter. I'll let you talk about that if we get there, Sandy. But um, there's signs like people find feathers, or if you see dragonflies or butterflies, people feel the connection to the divine through those. Sometimes you will hear words of a song that, like, oh, I'm feeling the divine love from those words. So there's just so many ways that they try to get our attention, and sometimes we just need to slow down and realize that it is a sign. I had a client that had asked for signs that her grandmother was around, and she asked for feathers, and she found a huge bunch of feathers, and her husband told her, no, that's just a coincidence, that's nothing. And I'm like, well, you asked for the feathers and you didn't just find one, you found many. And so I think grandma's trying to get your attention and say, here I am, I love you.
Feathers are for sure one of mine.
Yeah,
That
you have one
I
there,
do.
right?
I love all my feathers. I love the reminders.
Mhm.
Jeanette, thank you. Thanks for saying yes to this project, for being back. You've been in, have you been in every single one of the six? I believe you might, maybe.
No,
Oh, did we miss one?
only the was it the first and the fifth and sixth.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for being back for
Thank
another
you.
one and for being here to share about this today. Sandy, I want to hear a little bit about the why behind your chapter. Tell us everything.
Well, I always cry, and I don't never think I'm gonna, but my parents were prisoners of war on German farms, forced labor. And there I go. They met in a displaced persons camp and lived there 5 years before they immigrated. They came to where I'm the youngest of five. I was born in America. Two of my oldest siblings were born in the camp. And our household was filled with PTSD. There was lots of tension and anger and triggers that went off when they're for seeming meaningless things, they would lose their temper. So as a child, you were kind of on eggshells, making sure you weren't going to cause anything to go crazy. And I joked in my chapter that I always knew when she's gonna blow, Scotty, from Star Trek. That was the glass half full, as my antenna are still pretty high, and I can kind of sense, whoa, that doesn't sound good. So I grew up not knowing why. I grew up knowing our household wasn't quite like my friends, and I didn't understand the why of it all and what was going on. They didn't really talk about their history. My dad mentioned his German farmer and told some stories. My mom literally said nothing. And I've come to find out, I don't know if you want me to get into that part, but my why for the chapter is I wanted to, once I took my trauma-informed yoga training, I understood that they had no control over their tempers, that they couldn't speak sometimes because sometimes the trauma gets blocked in the part of the brain that doesn't have speech. It can't talk about it, which could my mom probably was totally there. And I understood that they had no control, that their brains were affected by it. My why was to explain that once you understand that, it softened and healed what I was going through in childhood. I shouldn't say healed, but it softened it to where understanding it makes a huge difference. The whys matter, knowing that they didn't come to the family like that. I knew they were good people, big hearts. I mentioned that in the chapter. It didn't mesh with what I grew up with. And I that was my why, was to let people know once you understand the why of something, it helps you understand where they're coming from and it's less harsh in the memory.
Yeah, for sure. That awareness and understanding. Oh my gosh, I think when we get to a point finally, maybe in somewhere in our adult lives where we're learning something new, we're understanding trauma better at the next layer. Not all of you get to do that in our world of healers and holistic health and wellness professionals. You all have dedicated your life to understanding the journey. And I think we get gifts of awareness in our
Mhm,
trainings like you
mhm,
did with the yoga
mhm,
training.
mhm,
And all of a sudden you could have a moment where you're like, oh, okay.
mhm.
And your
Yeah,
perspective shifts and like there's a transformation right there,
yeah,
right? What else do you
yeah.
want to tell us about that?
Well, it was like light bulbs going off. I can't tell you
Hmm.
the number of trainings. It's a 200-hour training now. It was 140 when I first completed it, and I will eventually they keep adding to it. But I remember in the class being like, whoa, really? Wow. And then there'd be times I'd be going, well, I'm just screwed because there's certain things about childhood experiences that don't set you up for goodness beyond. But knowing it helps. And I think that knowing the whys just helped me. It helped me understand it. And I owe that training. I always say I owe them a debt of gratitude because it literally changed my life. I viewed my childhood totally differently after that. I don't know what else to say in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Sandy, what does transformation even mean to you?
Well, I'm not the child wondering why. And one of the tactics I used, my nervous system was helping me, was I crawled behind my dresser, which was a big mirror dresser, and I sat in the corner and I had a little Folgers can in there with toys, and I would just stay in my little quiet place. I'm not that child needing to hide anymore. Uh, my yoga mat is my solace, and it's not really a hiding, it's more of a coming to center. So transformation to me is where you're putting yourself in a different mental place, spiritual place. You can handle things. Your resilience is better. That's transformation to me. So I've really worked at my resilience. I used to be a lot more edgy and I'm still pretty nervous. I'm still a little hyper. But anxiety's passed down through the generations and I understand that too. And that it helps to know that. And why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't grandma who had bombs flying over her head put that in her jeans and lovingly give that to me? But
Mhm.
transformation is being resilient through it and finding ways to stay grounded with it. That to me is transformation.
Okay, Jeanette, I'm coming to you with the same question. What does transformation mean to you?
So to me, it's like the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis, right? I'm not the same as I was before. Something has changed, and I'm a more beautiful, um, iteration of myself. And, all of our experiences lead up to this, so it's all part of the journey. But the transformation, the stepping into my new wings, you could see my new wings back there. um, and for that reason, the butterfly is a huge symbol of transformation because it goes through the whole cycle and comes out. beautiful. Even in the muck of it all, all the disintegration and everything changes. And I think that's a really great metaphor for us. And when Anna created the book cover, she used the colors of the monarch butterfly as the background for the book, so the transformation was built into it. And this year, 2025, you add up those numbers. Oh, speaking of the book, there's the cover. 2025 adds up to the number 9, which is the number for transformation. So it's all a beautiful thing. And when I first thought about, well, I don't really have a transformational story to tell, but then getting into the writing of the story, oh boy, that was a huge transformation. Like Laura, like you said, from HR to angels, right? That it changed the whole way that I operated in my life. It changed the MO of the blueprint, right, of how I deal with things. In my chapter being quietude, um, is my morning practice of getting guidance from the angels, from reading something inspirational. And that's the key to my inner peace, right? Is this quietude. One of my favorite poets is John O'Donohue, and I just love his words. They just are such a balm to my soul. So I study many of his books as well in my morning quiet time. Um, so that's what transformation means for me. It is something has occurred, and I'm emerging as a new, beautiful version of myself. So I think it's a constant improvement. Um,
Yeah, love it. I love listening to your iteration. Um, and a thank you goes out to both of you for not just saying yes to this project, but taking that challenge I gave you to put your vulnerable stories in the book. And then you're both master teachers. So listeners, get ready for the tool section because you're going to have a beautiful practical experience with a transformational kind of exercise or tool. And you both did that brilliantly. All of the co-authors did. It's you coach people and you help them every day, but it's quite another thing to get it in the book in a way that the reader can have experience from the words, and it's really magnificent. And you guys saw that beautiful cover there a couple of minutes ago, so I wanted to make sure and show you all that. So, last question for both of you. Jeanette, you started talking about it a little bit there a minute ago, but I'm going to start with you. What's the most important thing you want people to know about unlocking their inner peace?
So, the most important thing I'd like you to know about unlocking your inner peace is that it's possible right in your current circumstances, right here, right now. You don't have to wait till you retire, till you get that next degree, till you feel you've earned the time. Um, Even in the busyness of life, we can step aside and spend a few moments in quietude. And by that, I don't necessarily mean it has to be quiet where you are. It just being quiet within yourself. So being at peace, taking that moment to breathe and to get centered, even if it's going outside during your coffee break to just breathe the air, be next to the trees, look at the beauty of nature around you. Um, that it's possible right here, right now. You don't have to wait. You can experience inner peace right here in this next breath.
Yes. Yes, we can. I love it. Did anyone else breathe just now?
Yes.
All right. Sandy, I'm coming to you now with this as well. What's the most important thing you want people to know about the war trauma wisdom?
Well, I mentioned some of the points of understanding PTSD, and that to me is important if you're dealing with someone that has it. But I mentioned also in the chapter, and I've done research when I was looking at my parents' history, like knowing that anxiety travels through the DNA. I did a day where I just gathered all of my grandmother's information. I've not met my grandparents, so my maternal grandmother, I said, Finding Sophia is what I called it. And I was trying to gather what I knew about her, which was very little. My mom didn't share that much. So war trauma wisdom, like knowing what your family went through, knowing what happened in their life, how many wars were there, what did they lose any children? My maternal grandmother lost two twin boy and girl at 3 or 5. I need to look
Mhm.
that up. And I can't find a record of their birth, but my mom shared that with me. Her first husband wasn't so hot. It sounds like he might have beat her, but I didn't know that till later. So knowing what their life went through, knowing what surrounded them, that would have caused the PTSD, but also the history of what they went through creates, to me, their life. I have never met my grandmother, but I knew her better after researching her. Um, I'm just going to share since Jeanette brought it up. I was that day that I gathered it all and we went out on our normal dinner date, and I'm reading it to my husband in the car, and I said, I know nothing about my grandmother. I was so upset that I really didn't know anything in detail. And we're walking up the steps, and I'm still kind of, I don't know anything. I should have asked more questions. And we walked into the restaurant, and they are familiar with us there, especially at the time we went really regular. The owner says, "Oh, there they are." And they're all like, "Hi." And he leans to his left and grabs a bottle of wine, and he says, "This is what you'll have with dinner." And I'm holding the bottle and I'm looking at it, and I start crying because the bottle is called Sophia.
Mm.
And that was my grandmother's name. And I said, I just spent the day recreating my grandmother's memory. And it felt like a message. So to me, war trauma wisdom. I tried to find out about her life, and I feel like she said, thank you by giving me that sign. So I think that's what knowing the PTSD, knowing the bullet points of that scientific stuff, but also knowing the life of the person that you're trying to understand is important.
Oh, I love that so much. What a beautiful sign as
Yeah,
well. Oh
it
my
Yeah.
it
gosh.
just goosebumps. He gave us the bottle for free then, so
Awesome. I love that story, Sandy. When
I
I
do
read it
too.
in your book, it gave me angel bumps. I'm
Yeah,
like, of
I
all the bottles of wine, and it was grandma's name. It
yeah,
just was amazing.
yeah. It's a sweet message.
Sandy, Jeanette, thank you both so much for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Listeners, this is way more than a book. It is a very generous community of experts in health and wellness, right? Maybe something you heard today gave you the goosebumps, or maybe you have a question or you just want to carry on the conversation. Come on down into the show notes. I have these authors hooked up with their websites. Go explore what they're up to. It's a lot of amazing things, and they are there for the question. They're there to give you that support and to connect with you. We would love it if you would hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of the Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self Care 25 Tools for Transformation. Link is below for you. And lastly, everyone, remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.